I never thought my own mother would make me feel like a stranger in my own house. 33 relatives were invited, laughter filled every room, food covered the table, and yet no one looked at me. I stood there smiling while my heart slowly broke. That night changed how I saw my family forever. If you have ever felt invisible, ignored, or unwanted by your own people, this story will stay with you until the end. My name is Emily Carter and I was born in a small town in Ohio. I grew up believing family was everything because that was what my mother always said. She used to tell me that blood was stronger than anything else, and that family would never abandon you. As a little girl, I trusted her words completely. My father worked long hours at a manufacturing plant and my mother stayed busy keeping in touch with every relative imaginable. Aunts, uncles, cousins, second cousins, people I barely knew were always part of our lives. Family gatherings were normal for us, but they never felt heavy the way they would later. When I was young, my mother treated me like her shadow. She dressed me, chose my friends, decided what I should like and what dreams were acceptable. At that time, I thought that was love. As I grew older, things started to change in ways I could not explain. She became more focused on how our family looked from the outside. What people said mattered more to her than how I felt. By the time I reached college age, my mother had become the center of our extended family. Everyone called her for advice. Everyone praised her cooking, her organization, her generosity. She loved being admired. I was proud of her at first because she was my mom, but slowly I realized there was no space left for me. I went to college nearby because she did not want me too far away. I studied psychology and worked part-time to cover my expenses. My mother often reminded relatives how expensive my education was. She spoke as if she carried the whole burden alone. In front of others, she acted like the Welcome back to Revenge Water Official. If you are enjoying the content and want to support the journey, then make sure you hit that subscribe button right now and turn on all notifications so you never miss an upload. Your support helps Revenge Water Official grow and bring you even better videos every single day, so join the family today by clicking subscribe, and thank you for being part of the team. Perfect supportive mother. At home, she was distant, critical, and cold. I tried to talk to her many times. I told her I felt lonely even when surrounded by family. She would smile and say I was too sensitive. She said I should be grateful to have such a big, loving family. Her words made me doubt my own feelings. The real turning point came the summer after I graduated. I moved back home temporarily while looking for a job. My mother announced she was hosting a huge family dinner. She was excited like a child planning a festival. She told me 33 family members were coming. She spoke about the menu, the decorations, the seating arrangements. She never once asked for my help or my opinion. On the day of the dinner, the house was transformed. The living room looked like something from a magazine. The kitchen was full of food. I offered to help, but my mother brushed me aside. She told me to stay out of the way. Those words hurt more than I expected. Relatives started arriving in waves. Cars filled the driveway. Laughter echoed through the house. Everyone hugged my mother, praised her, admired her. I stood nearby smiling, waiting for someone to notice me. Most people passed by as if I were invisible. My mother introduced everyone to each other. She told stories about cousins' achievements. She bragged about nieces and nephews. When it came to me, she said nothing. Not a word about my graduation. Not a word about my dreams. Felt like I did not exist. At dinner, the table was full. Every seat was carefully assigned. I noticed there was no place for me at the main table. My mother pointed to a small chair near the corner. She said I could sit there. I obeyed quietly, my face burning with shame. Throughout the evening, people talked, laughed, shared memories. No one asked how I was. No one asked about my future. My mother never looked in my direction. I felt like a guest in my own home. An unwanted extra. At one point, I went to the bathroom and looked at myself in the mirror. I barely recognized the girl staring back. Her eyes were tired. Her smile was forced. I realized something inside me was breaking. That night, when the last guest left and the house finally went quiet, I helped clean without being asked. My mother thanked everyone except me. She went to bed without saying good night. I sat alone in the dark living room, surrounded by empty plates and leftover food. And I understood the painful truth. My own mother had invited 33 family members and made me feel like an outsider. That was the night I stopped trying to earn her love And the night my real journey began. I barely slept that night. Every sound in the house felt louder than usual. The walls that once felt familiar now felt cold. In the morning my mother acted normal as if nothing had happened. She talked about how successful the dinner was. She mentioned how everyone praised her hospitality. She never asked how I felt. She never noticed my silence. I decided that day I could not stay in that house any longer. Not because of anger but because of survival. I felt myself shrinking every time I stayed quiet. I started applying for jobs seriously. I sent resumes everywhere. I accepted interviews even when I felt unprepared. 2 weeks later I got an offer from a small mental health nonprofit in Chicago. The pay was modest but it was a start. When I told my mother, she reacted with surprise, not pride. She asked why Chicago. She said it was too far. She said family needed me here. I realized she needed control, not closeness. I moved out quietly. I packed my things without drama. On the day I left, my mother hugged me in front of relatives. She told them how hard it was to let her daughter go. Behind closed doors she barely spoke to me. That goodbye felt final in a way I could not explain. Chicago was overwhelming at first. The city was loud, fast, and indifferent. But that indifference felt freeing. No one expected anything from me. No one compared me to anyone else. I shared a small apartment with 2 roommates. I worked long hours. I learned how to budget. I learned how to cook simple meals. I learned how to sit alone without feeling worthless. At work I listened to people tell their stories. Stories of neglect, abandonment, emotional pain. For the first time I saw my own life reflected in others. I understood that love should not make you feel invisible. Months passed. I slowly built confidence. My coworkers respected me. They asked for my input. They celebrated small wins with me. It felt strange and beautiful. My mother rarely called. When she did, the conversations were short. She talked about family events I was not invited to. She talked about cousins' weddings, birthdays, celebrations. I listened quietly. I told her I was busy. I stopped trying to explain myself. One day I received a message in the family group chat. Pictures from another big gathering. Everyone smiling around a long table. My mother at the center again. I was not mentioned. I was not missed. Instead of crying, I felt calm. That scared me at first. Then I realized calm meant healing. I started therapy myself. Not because I was broken but because I wanted clarity. I learned about emotional neglect. I learned about conditional love. I learned that sometimes parents love in ways that harm. A year later I was promoted. My supervisor trusted me with more responsibility. I started leading group sessions. I felt proud of myself for the first time. When my mother heard about my promotion, she told relatives before she told me. She framed it as her success. She said she raised me well. That comment reopened an old wound. But this time it did not control me. Then something unexpected happened. My grandmother fell ill. Suddenly the family needed me. They called me asking for help, advice, support. I returned home for the first time in years. Walking into that house felt surreal. The walls looked smaller. The furniture looked older. My mother looked tired. Relatives greeted me warmly now. They asked about my job. They listened to my answers. I noticed how their attention shifted. I realized success had changed how they saw me. During another family dinner, my mother asked me to sit beside her. The same woman who once placed me in the corner. She praised me in front of everyone. She said she was proud. But something inside me remained guarded. I smiled politely. I thanked her. But I knew words alone could not rewrite the past. Later that night my mother tried to talk. She said she never meant to hurt me. She said she was under pressure. She said she did her best. I listened calmly. I told her how invisible I felt. I told her about that night with 33 relatives. I told her how it changed me. She cried. I did not. That difference mattered. For the first time I understood. Forgiveness did not mean forgetting. It meant choosing peace over pain. I returned to Chicago with a clearer heart. I no longer needed my mother's approval to feel whole. When I returned to Chicago, something inside me felt settled. Not healed completely but steady. I stopped replaying old memories in my head. I stopped wondering what I could have done differently. I finally accepted that a child is not responsible for a parent's emotional limits. My life slowly expanded in quiet, meaningful ways. I made friends who listen without judging. I built routines that made me feel safe. Morning walks, coffee before work, evenings spent reading or cooking. Simple moments that reminded me I mattered. At work, I was offered a chance to design a new community program. It focused on young adults dealing with family neglect. Every session felt personal. Every story reminded me why I left home, why I chose myself. The program succeeded beyond expectations. Attendance grew. Feedback was overwhelming. People told me they felt seen for the first time. Those words healed parts of me my family never could. My mother called more often after that. Her voice was softer, less commanding. Sometimes she asked real questions. Sometimes she listened. One afternoon she asked if she could visit me. The old version of me would have panicked. But now I felt grounded. I said yes. When she arrived, she looked around my small apartment. She noticed the books, the notes on the wall, the calm in my space. She said I seemed different, stronger. We sat together and talked without an audience. No relatives. No performance. Just two people. She admitted she had always feared being forgotten, being unimportant. She built her identity around being the center of the family. She never realized the cost. I told her I did not need her to be perfect. I needed her to see me. Really see me. That conversation did not fix everything, but it opened a door. And sometimes that is enough. Months later, I was invited to another family gathering. This time I chose to go on my terms. I arrived late. I left early. I spoke when I wanted. I stayed silent when I needed. I noticed how my presence no longer depended on approval. I belonged because I existed. Not because I performed. My mother watched me differently. Not as an extension of herself, but as my own person. As I drove back to Chicago that night, I thought about the girl I used to be. The one sitting in the corner of the room, smiling through pain, waiting to be chosen. I wished I could tell her something important. That being ignored does not mean you are unworthy. That silence does not define your value. That sometimes the family you are born into cannot love you the way you need. And that is not your fault. Today my life is quiet but full. I still love my family from a distance. I keep boundaries without guilt. I give myself the care I once begged for. My mother invited 33 family members and made me feel like an outsider, but she also pushed me toward a life where I learned to choose myself, and that